Pygmy Corydoras are a tiny schooling catfish from South America, known for their peaceful nature and active behavior. Their small size, manageable care requirements, and willingness to breed make them an excellent species for breeding projects. So, at the beginning of the year, when I moved into a share house to start university, I thought they would be the perfect fish to work with. Wanting a project that was both rewarding and practical for student life, I decided to start a pygmy cory breeding colony. Here's the process and results of this project. At the beginning, before I even get the fish, I had to set up the tank. Because this was meant to be a simple background project, I took inspirations from other people I've seen on the internet and set up the bare minimum these catfish needed. A bare bottom tank with some rocks to hide, some driftwood to release tannins, a spawning mob to act as a spawning site, and a few fake plants to help them settle in. I also ended up deciding to add some pre-soaked banana leaves to act as a natural source of off-walks for the future fry, and also to act as extra cover for the parents. And for filtration, I ended up adding a sponge filter, as they are pretty much foolproof and will not harm the adults nor the fry. And now finally, for the colony itself, I started off with 10 pygmy cories I bought from a local fish store. They were all similar sizes and consisted of 7 regular cories and 3 albinos. After adding the fish in, I noticed that they were very skittish and would tend to hide most of the time, and they only really came out when the room didn't have too many people in it. But over time, since they were in a room where people often walk past, they got somewhat used to the company and realized that we weren't a threat. Since they had small mouths, my solution to feeding them was to give them a variety of pre-soaked pellets so they could just slowly graze on it, but more specifically, I made sure to consistently feed them live blackworms. Blackworms are a freshwater organism which are a food source to a variety of fish, and the pygmy cories are no exception. Blackworms are stacked with protein, and since I wanted the cories to be as healthy and fat as possible, I kept this as their staple diet with the addition of cichlid pellets, spirulina wafers, and both frozen and live baby brine shrimp. For about the first month or two, they were very quiet and didn't really do anything in regards to breeding. I believe this is because they were just borderline mature, so they hadn't started mating, or at least not much at this point in time. But one day, I saw 4 of the cories going crazy, and as I went to go film some footage, I noticed that there were 2 smaller ones chasing 2 larger ones. At this moment, I knew that it was time for these guys to take off. The pygmy cories were finally mating, and they were ravenous with it. Eventually, I noticed more and more cories joining in, and finally got some golden footage of one of the female cories placing her eggs on the bottom side of one of the fake leaves. By the afternoon, there were eggs absolutely everywhere. Somewhere around this time, I also added in some small companions to help clean up the tank, and since I didn't want anything that would harm the cories or the eggs, I decided to add in a small colony of red cherry shrimps, which also unexpectedly took off eventually. After that spawn, I noticed that the cories would be getting free heat pretty much every other day, if not every day. Honestly, it was an amazing sight to see. And eventually, after about a week, I got my first glimpse of the fry, and I kid you not, these fry were tiny. Even smaller than rainbow fish fry in my opinion, and rainbow fish fry are like eyelashes. And the only reason I actually knew they were fry in the tank was because I noticed that the poop on the bottom of the tank was getting slightly swished around here and there. And because the fry are so tiny, I actually really struggled to get some good footage of them. But in my opinion, they kind of look like trilineatus cory fry at this stage, showing various spots instead of one firm line like the pygmy adults. I started throwing in more botanicals in the tank to help provide biofilm for both the shrimp and cory fry, and I believe this did help as the population started to boom for both species. And after a month, all the fry were starting to become more bold and actually coming out to eat. They would most of the time come sit on the rocks and banana leaves and right next to the spawning mobs. And because I started to have more and more fry over time, I started adding more live plants to help with the bioload, and also with the creation of microorganisms. But this ended up being a huge mistake later on down the line. After a few more weeks, the first few cory fry pretty much looked like tiny adults. The distinct spots transformed into the iconic Pygmy Corydoras stripe, and they also started to dart around like the adults do. Since the colony was doing so well, I decided to leave for a bit to see my family back in my hometown. And when I came back to the share house, one new thing occurred. The plants I had put into the tank had also invited a colony of pest snails. At first, it was only about 20 and wasn't looking too big of a deal. But since I fed the tank more heavily and had botanicals for the fry, the snails also had an ideal amount of food and bred heavily. And eventually, it got to a point where the snails started eating the pygmy eggs. So, at about 3 to 4 months after the tank was set up, I decided that I would have to reset the colony due to the infestation. But before I break down the tank, I just wanted to show you all how well the shrimp colony took off. I had only added a few, probably about 6 or 7, but now there were well over 40 or 50 shrimp overall, and there were also still many buried females. As much as I wanted to let the tank carry on, I knew that the Pygmy Corydoras' increasing numbers would start slowing down if I didn't do something. So I took down the tank. Here you can see how dirty it is after stirring up the tank a bit. The water became completely cloudy and it was a very hard task to get everything out of the tank. And after draining the tank a bit, you can see just how many snails there were on the glass. But instead of you guys watching me clean out the tank, how about we move on to the results of this project? So here is a container with most of the fish and shrimps in the tank. There was still some more in a dirty bucket I had on the side because I was waiting for the debris to settle down. But in this container alone, there was about 25 Pygmy Corydoras, which included most of the original adults, some of the older fry, and a few of the younger fry. There was also a large number of shrimps in there. And one thing I wanted to point out is that I had only put red cherry shrimp into the tank, but I ended up finding both red and yellow cherry shrimp fry in there. I was super excited as I've never actually had a yellow colony before, and now have set up a tank for these little yellow guys to colonize in. Maybe in the future, if anything happens with them, I'll give you all an update. But in terms of the Pygmy Corydoras alone, I ended up having about 38 total after collecting them all. So in those few months, the population increased by 28 cories. I'm not sure if this is a really big success, but considering all I did was throw food in there once a day and let them do their own thing, I'd say it went pretty well. Sadly, I got no albino fry, but I'll just leave my albinos in the colony since I think they're pretty neat. When considering genetics, even if the albino cories did breed, their babies would have the original cory colors regardless, because albino is a recessive gene. The only way to get more albinos is for the 2 albinos to breed with each other, or for the fry to eventually breed with another albino, or throw off that recessive gene somewhere down the line. But regardless, the fry are healthy, and that's all I really care about. So I decided to rehome all of the fry that seemed old enough, and to restart the colony of the original 10 cories. But now since they're more mature, the colony should take off even faster. So, those were the results of my pygmy breeding colony. If you like to set up your own, here's a few quick tips. Firstly, I really think that the botanicals really did help the fry to take off, as the smaller ones generally hid and probably just grazed on biofilm a lot. As well as this, I also think that just leaving the cories alone are a key component. I think if I kept interfering with them, they would have just been stressed, but since I left them alone, they got comfortable enough and just did what they deemed natural. Also, I'd say that a good indicator of when the Pygmy Corydoras are actually ready to breed is when they develop a 3rd stripe along the bottom of their body. I'll show you guys a quick clip here, and you'll see there's a 3rd stripe on the bottom. I noticed that most of the cories who bred first all had these 3 stripes, and now when I look at all my adults, they all have the 3 stripes. But now that the Pygmy Corydoras are out of the way, I'm raising some fish for a new breeding project. Here's a small blurry clip of them. You guys can try to guess what it is, and whoever gets it right in the comment will get a shout out next video. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you'd like to stay updated with the fish keeping I've been doing in my uni life, please subscribe and like. It really supports me. Anyways, I hope you liked the video, and I hope to see you all in the future.